Hi students, it's Mrs. Cozy here, and I am going to show you guys exactly how to write your character analysis paragraph using a little video here. Okay, so the first thing you guys want to know is the character that I'm writing about is Mrs. Wins, and she was the party hostess from the short story, The Dinner Party. She was the one that had the cobra crawling across her foot and didn't freak out. So the character trait that I'm going to say that Mrs. Wins has is that she is very brave. So we're going to start to put our paper together. The very first thing that we want to have is we want to have a thesis statement. So in our thesis, remember, we need to make sure that we tag it and that we turn the question around as well as answer it. So I'm going to start with, in the short story, there's my genre, quotations, because whenever we have the title of a short story, we want quotations around it and we want it capitalized. By, and the author is Mona Gardner. So right there, I've got my short story, The Dinner Party, capitalized, by, the author, capitalized. The hostess of the party, Mrs. Wynn, is courageous. Okay, so that's my very first sentence. I have identified the character that I'm going to write about, and this is the character trait that I'm using. So I have my thesis statement. The next thing I want to do is use my quotations that I filled out. So I already went through the story, and I know that I want to put down that she was staring straight ahead and her muscles were contracting slightly. But I also know that if I just drop this here and put this quote here, that I have not set up the quote. There's no scene, there's no speaker, there's no situation, there's no background knowledge. So I know that I need to put that together. So the next thing that I want to do is set this quote up. So I need to kind of talk a little bit about what was going on in the story. So I'm going to set up the situation and the scene. So in the story, a cobra crawls under the table during dinner. Okay. And when Mrs. Wynn realizes it, she doesn't freak out. Instead, she, and I'm going to put my quote, is staring straight ahead. Her muscles contracting slightly. End quote. Okay, so since this is my quote, I want to make sure that I have it in quotations. Also, all of this right up here is my background information. I'm setting up the quote so that I don't just plop it down. The other thing I want to make sure that I do is in parentheses, I'm going to put the page number and then the period. So in the story, the cobra crawls under the table during dinner. When Mrs. Wynn realizes it, she doesn't freak out. Instead, she, quote, is staring straight ahead, her muscles contracting slightly. So the last thing that I need to do with my quote is now I need to do my elaboration. And this is when I'm going to explain how this quote then connects to her being courageous. So I'm going to say her actions show how brave and how much self-control she has. So, she even had the courage to get the cobra out of the room because she asked the servant to place a bowl of milk outside. So now I'm going to elaborate on what does this quote show us. And I'm saying her actions show us how brave and how much self-control she has. Notice I'm using some different word choice instead of just repeating the word courageous over and over again. Then I use the word courage here, and I explained that she even showed courage because after she stood so still, she even had the brains and the wherewithal to ask the servant to take the milk outside. So as you can see right here, I have my scene, speaker, situation, my background information. I have my quote, my evidence, and then I have my elaboration. Now, when I start to put this together, I might want to add a little bit more detail. I might want to show that she had courage in the face of death because she knew that she showed courage because she was able to save other people. But since this is kind of my rough draft and I haven't typed it up yet, I can make those changes. So I want you to see how this is flowing together. We have the thesis. We have our first quote, and we didn't just plop the quote here and call it done. We had to use the scene, the speaker, and the situation. We set up the quote, noticing we're using quotations, parentheses, and the period there. And then we're going to show how this quote demonstrates her courage. Okay? So that is the first part of how to write your character analysis.